Tonight we're talking about how to make decisions ahead of time and what will happen to your self-confidence, goals, and life if you do. Hey everyone, you're watching She Rocks at College Live, a live show that happens every Thursday here on YouTube that brings together college women in their 20s and 30s and has them connect over chat, teaches them skills, exposes them to resources, different ways of thought to help them see academic and life success. And I'm your host, Clarissa. And tonight's conversation is really a conversation about commitment and confidence. I snuck that one in there, right? Because that's really what making decisions ahead of time brings. It's all about committing to who you want to be and how through that you will then build up your self-confidence. And once you have self-confidence, you're going to be unstoppable. So when I first started this show, my intention for the show was for it to be very conversational. I wanted you girls to connect and feel me. I wanted you to connect and feel each other. I wanted it to be very much of a live environment. And so I'm trying something new this week. I have some points written down, but I haven't completely hashed out everything that I want to say the way that I've done in the past. So we're going to see how this goes. We're going to try it out. I'm going to be interacting with you a little bit more inside of the chat because, again, I really want this to feel like a community. So this week we started study school. So for those of you who don't know what study school is, it is my unique personalized academic experience where I teach college women like you how to build your study routine from start to finish. And we talk about the things that you need to do to write notes, the things that you need to work on in terms of your mindset to actually get yourself to stick to your study schedule. And this week we had our new student orientation. And during that new student orientation, I announced what we would be collectively working on for the month of January. So each month inside of study school, there's going to be a different theme. And we are going to create workbooks to go along with that theme so that we're all working on things together. And so I announced this Monday that the theme for January was going to be future focused. Now, for the year of 2019, I decided that my word of the year was going to be becoming. Now, this word has turned out to be something super significant in my life, but part of being future focused is thinking about who we need to become in the process. It's more than just setting goals. It's more than just thinking about the life that we want, but it's really about tapping into, in the process of achieving that goal, who do we need to become to achieve it? What things do we need to think about? How do we need to act? How do we need to show up in 2019 if we want to achieve what we want to achieve? And I've had the girls inside of study school create a vision for their life so that they have a model of who they want to become. And what I am finding is that a lot of these girls are learning that in order for them to hit their goals this semester, it's going to take some serious commitment and some serious decision making. And a lot of that decision making needs to happen ahead of time. So what does it mean to commit? So of course, you guys know my thing is I love meaning behind words. And so I went on the internet and I looked up the meaning of commitment. And what it means to commit is it's an agreement or a pledge to do something in the future, which goes exactly with the theme for the month of January, which is being future focused. So when you are committing, what you are stating, what you are announcing to the world is, I'm doing this, right? I foresee that the thing that I want is going to happen. The expectation is it's done. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to get there. I don't have to worry about stressing whether this study strategy is going to work or that study strategy is going to work. It is an agreement, a pledge, a promise to myself to do something in the future, to become something in the future. It's a promise to do or refrain from doing something. It's basically a decision that you've made ahead of time of who you're going to be. Now, last week, I talked all about indecision. And last week was episode 13, and I talked about indecision and how indecision really means that you're in confusion. And when you're in confusion, what it really means is the inability to see the end result. So when you're in indecision, you cannot decide, you cannot decipher the difference between one outcome and another because you can't see the end result clearly. So basically what I'm saying is that there is this resistance and this fear about choosing something because you're not sure whether or not that choice is going to lead to the result that you want. But the funny thing about that is that when you're in indecision, you're making a decision to be in indecision. And really all you're doing is prolonging your decision-making process. And in that stretch of time where you're choosing not to decide, when you're deciding not to decide, what you're doing is you are prolonging where you're currently at from where you want to be. You're delaying the outcome that you're working so hard towards, because when you're in indecision, you're in inaction. Most of us, when we can't make a decision, we just sort of let our life continue as it has. Why? Because in doing so and staying in indecision, like I talked about last week, we are creating this false sense of security, this false sense of safety, and this false sense of certainty. Because if we keep doing what we've been doing, we know what the end result is going to be. And that's not scary. Even though it might not be the kind of life we want to live, even though we might not be happy with where we're currently at, that's okay, because at least this is a discomfort that we're familiar with, right? It's less scary than taking the leap and making a decision and not really being sure of what's on the other side, what's on the other end. And that's why we choose to stay in indecision. And our brain, like I've been talking about for weeks now, is naturally wired to focus on avoiding pain, seeking pleasure, and being really efficient and wanting to expend the least amount of energy as possible. Its sole job, the primitive part of your brain, the limbic system, is to keep the status quo. And when you're making decisions, what you are doing when you're making decisions that go against what you have been in the habit of doing, you are disrupting the status quo. So we have that limbic part of our brain, and really one of the ways that you want to look at the limbic part of your brain is the limbic part of your brain is the part of your brain that it is in habit. It is the part of your brain that is unconscious. You don't have to think about what you want to do with that part of your brain. It's just going to keep kind of on a loop the status quo. It's going to keep thinking what it's been thinking. It's going to keep doing what it's been doing. It's going to keep up with the habits that it currently has, because it knows even though we don't like where we're at, even though things could be better, even though we still yearn and desire for all these things, let's just hang out here because we can predict the outcome. We can see what that end result is going to be if we just kind of just stay where we're at. Now, this is where the prefrontal cortex, which is the most evolved part of our brain, comes in the part of making decisions ahead of time. And I'm going to talk about why there's so much power in you making decisions ahead of time and how that power influences the kind of life that you live, because what we're all about here on She Rocks at College is helping you to create the academic experience of your dreams so that then you can graduate, and having learned all of these skills in college, having practiced them in college, having mastered them in college, being able to then go off and create the life that you want, a life that will change generations to come, that could possibly change the trajectory of your family up until this point, the way that it has mine. So the prefrontal cortex is the smart part of our brain. You guys have heard me talk about this a lot. It's the part of your brain that is responsible for being able to fantasize, being able to think about the future, being able to consider right and wrong, being able to dream and set goals. It's the part of your brain that has the best version of you in mind. It's the part of your brain that wants to evolve, that wants to get better, that wants to see you progress. This part of your brain, like I said, is always going to choose things, actions, thoughts, if you let it, that will help support you and where you're trying to go as a student. And that's where the power lies. So many college students get stuck in indecision. They get stuck in this space of being afraid, not knowing what to do, consuming a ton of content, not being sure which direction to take, which in turn leads them nowhere, right? Because they don't end up making a decision, and so life just continues on as normal. But if you are working on having a semester that is dramatically different than any other semester that you've had before, you need to get really good at the practice of making decisions ahead of time and committing. So, commitment is literally the opposite of confusion. It's clarity. It's a clarity that involves you repeatedly making decisions ahead of time. Decisions that are aligned with the goals you have, not only for this month, not only for this week, not only for this day, but this entire semester, this entire year, and your whole life. And it requires you practicing the one skill that makes us different than animals, and that is our prefrontal cortex, utilizing it to be future focused. Because like I said, it always has the best version of us in mind. It always is rooting for our future. It always wants to see us succeed, which means that it always says yes to what will typically move us towards our goal, which will give our brain the evidence that it needs to continue to trust our decision making. And that trust and evidence is the very definition of confidence. Confidence is the belief that you can rely on something. And that something that you're able to rely on is yourself. When you make a commitment, which again we said it's a pledge to do something in the future, i.e. it's a decision that you're making ahead of time. What you are doing is you are building your confidence. You are showing yourself that you're the type of woman that when she says she's going to do something, she follows through. That when she creates a study schedule and on Monday at 8 a.m., she has down, I'm going to sit down and read chapter 2 for my chemistry class and complete 25 practice problems, she can trust that she's actually going to sit down at 8 o'clock in the morning and do it. And is that not what we've all been wanting as college students? Is that not what we're constantly complaining about? Are we not always talking about how we're procrastinating? How we take all this time and effort to create these elaborate, complicated, beautiful, color-coded schedules, but we then can't get ourselves to stick to it. The reason why we're not able to get ourselves to stick to it is because of our limbic brain, that primitive part of our brain that is always seeking for us to stay in our comfort. And when you practice making decisions ahead of time, what you do is you allow your prefrontal cortex to manage your life and manage it in a way where a year from now, at the end of the semester, you can look back and say, wow, look at everything I accomplished. Wow, I am so proud of myself. Look at what I've been able to do in spite of my past, in spite of how past semesters have gone, in spite of what I thought was true about me that I now realize isn't. And that's the power that comes behind making decisions ahead of time, because it helps us to build confidence. And I'm going to walk you through the process of how we build confidence and how making decisions ahead of time helps to enhance or, move the confidence building process along quicker. So confidence first starts with the desire, right? So all of us declare that we want something. We want a higher GPA. We want better relationships with our professors. We want to actually stick to our study schedules. We want to actually know what to do when we're studying. We want to pass this next exam. Everything starts with that desire, that declaration of what we want to experience in our life, what we want to experience today, what we want to experience this week, what we want to experience this month, this semester, this year. The moment that we make that declaration, what we are asking of ourselves is for us to stand up a little bit and now become the person who can do that, the person who can achieve that. And in the moment that we make our declaration, that primitive part of our brain that I've been talking about, all of a sudden freaks the hell out. And it says, we've never done that before. We've never been that person before. We've never thought that way before. We've never been able to accomplish this before. What makes you think that now is different? Why are you trying to make me work harder than I need to work? Why are you trying to put us through this pain? Why are you trying to kill us with this desire that you all of a sudden have? And your sole job, when your limbic brain takes control, is to first become aware of it and tell it to shut the hell up. And that's going to take courage. And that is where making decisions ahead of time becomes super important. Because again, if you remember in my past episode 13, where I talked about how indecision is affecting your studying, I talked about willpower. And I discussed how we think that willpower just like magically appears, right? Or we're always questioning, I don't have any willpower. Where is my willpower? We all start off with 100% willpower at the beginning of the day. And willpower is like a muscle. The more we have to make decisions, the more we have to force ourselves to do things, that 100% power starts to dwindle. And by the end of the day, when most of us decide that we're going to study, we're at 12% willpower, which means we're not going to be able to do anything that's hard, to do anything that challenges us, to do anything that we don't feel like doing, because we have diminished our willpower with all the decisions that we've done throughout the day. Making decisions ahead of time helps us to not have to rely on that willpower, because when you make a decision, remember, the act of making a decision means that you're cutting away, you're removing all other options, so that the only option that is left is the decision, right? It's the choice, it's the action that's actually going to move you closer to where it is that you want to go. An example that I'm going to give to you for this is, let's say that we're going to go out to eat, and that you have a goal of losing weight. And you know that eating French fries doesn't help you towards that goal. So you go to the restaurant, you look at the menu, and of course, Because you're in that environment, you're seeing the fries, you're smelling the fries, you're exhausted from all the decisions that you had to make throughout the day. When you get there, you're like, screw it. It's been a rough day. I am tired. I don't feel like eating a salad. I'm going to order the French fries. But had you, prior to going to the restaurant, looked at the menu, decided that you were going to get a salad, committed to your weight loss goal, committed to your meal plan of having one salad a day, having made that decision ahead of time, when you get to the restaurant, the French fries are not even an option anymore. Because you decided ahead of time that you were going to order a salad, no matter what, that was the commitment that you needed to make. This is the power that comes from making decisions ahead of time. And this is the courage that it's going to take in order for you to move into developing the skills, the capability, racking up the evidence that you can do hard things, that you can stick to a steady schedule even when you don't feel like it. And over time, the more you practice it, the more you practice making decisions ahead of time and following through, you all of a sudden get these results in your life. You're losing the weight. Every quiz you're taking in class, your grade is jumping by 10 points. Every exam that you're taking, you're noticing that your grade is improving. Every time that you go and chat with your professor, it gets easier. You don't have to work as hard to come up with questions or how to have a conversation that's helpful. And these results, your brain is now looking at it and it's thinking like, wow, look at us. Look at us. Look at everything we've been able to accomplish. And it then begins to trust what it is that you are saying to it. It begins to trust your desires and that you're the type of person who achieves and accomplishes the desire. The power of making decisions ahead of time comes from the fact that you no longer now have to rely on inspiration, motivation, or willpower. Because you are deciding the night before, the week before, the month before, who you're going to be. And you're committed to that person. You're committed to the actions that person would take if they wanted to achieve that goal. And you are removing all other options. That courage to make that commitment, doing it even though you in the back of your mind are afraid that you're going to fail, afraid that you won't succeed, afraid that you don't know what it looks like, afraid of the work and the effort that's going to go into it. That's what courage is doing things even though you know it's going to be hard. Making the decision even though you know tomorrow you're probably not going to feel like, but committing anyway. Because when you start seeing those results, when you start seeing what's happening in your life, when you start seeing the progress and improvement that you're making, that is going to send this surge of dopamine, this surge of really amazing feelings through your body that your brain is going to say, I want more of that. Where can we get more of that? Because this feels really good. And this is how we start to build these habits that give us the results that we want to see in the semester and then boost our confidence. The power of making decisions ahead of time is in the commitment and in the self-confidence that it creates. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Because I know you're probably thinking right now, well, how do I begin deciding? How do I decide between two different things? Well, here's the thing, love. A decision happens in a moment. It happens in a second. And you're probably thinking, no, because it took me a month to come up with the topic of my paper. It took you a month of sitting in indecision and a second to pick a topic. For a month, you sat in between 12 topics, choosing not to decide, and then in a second, you decided. A decision happens in a moment. And I'm going to give you some questions again to think about I want to start prompting you girls to start thinking differently, to start thinking in ways that serve you, to start expanding your mind and expanding your possibilities. This is why, even though I give you guidelines on this show, I'm not telling you what to do. Because at the end of the day, I don't want you girls to just be robots who can take a good order. I don't want you to just be robots who can follow directions. I want you to be critical thinkers. I want you to be women who are empowered to create their own lives, who know what they want, who understand who they want to be, and then know how to think their way to that. Because in thinking your way to that, you're going to feel differently, which means you're going to act differently, right? Because our feelings dictate our actions, and our feelings are created by how we're thinking about ourselves. So here are some questions to help you to start making decisions ahead of time. So again, it always starts with that desire. What do you want? What do you want to create? What do you want to experience this semester? 2, who do I need to become to achieve that? This question is potent. It's powerful. I need you to be asking yourself this question every single day. I need you to be journaling about it every single day. What do I desire? What do I want? Who do I need to become? That question, who do I need to become, puts you in a future-focused state. It will, without you even having to try, activate that prefrontal cortex, because that is what it's designed for, to think in the future, to anticipate things, to imagine, to envision, to predict. Who do I need to become? The third question, what do I need to do? And I urge you not to be confused, because you're gonna say, I don't know what I need to do. I don't know is indecision. None of us, and remember that indecision is confusion, and confusion is not being sure that the things that you're going to do are going to lead you. It's not being able to see the end result. It's this fear of like, well, I don't know if I choose that, if it's actually going to help me. But the thing is that the only thing that produces an outcome, the only thing that is a sure thing, is you taking the actions and then seeing if it worked, seeing if it got there, if it got you there, if it got you what you wanted. So no matter what, you need to take some sort of action. So what do you need to do? Write something down and try it. Pick anything. Trust yourself to just pick something. You're brilliant. If you are on this live show right now, if you happen to be in my world, you're here because you are brilliant. You're here because you are smart enough. You're here because you are capable enough. Trust yourself that you are going to write things down that are going to help you. Most of you know already what you need to do to succeed. You're just not doing it. And you're not doing it because you're afraid that it won't get you what you want. But in not doing it, you're just creating that anyway. What do you need to do? And make the decision ahead of time that that's what you're going to do for the next month. You're going to commit to taking those actions, no matter what, for the next 30 days. And you are not allowed to change your mind, even when it looks like it's not going to work. Even when it requires a lot of effort, even when it gets hard. Because the only time you want to change your mind is when you've gotten some actual tangible results, some actual feedback that tells you that didn't work. Because if you quit before you get that feedback, you're probably going to cause it to not work out because you stopped doing it. Some other things to ask yourself are, would I choose this again? Would I choose it again? So if you had a study plan in the past that you can think about, if you created a study schedule in the past, you can ask yourself, would I choose it again? Another question you can ask yourself is if both of these options got me what I wanted, which one would I choose? So if both of these options got me to exactly where I wanted to be, helped me achieve exactly what I want, which one would I choose? And again, commit to it. Make that decision ahead of time. Decide what you will and will not do this semester ahead of time. I will do my readings prior to class. Commit. See what happens. I will start studying for my exam 3 to 5 days before the actual exam. Make that decision ahead of time. When you make the decision, you are removing all other options. So it is no longer an option for you not to start studying 3 to 5 days before the exam. The power of making decisions ahead of time is that you become exactly who you want to be. Because you finally move out of indecision and into action, which gives you the results that prove to you that I am smart enough, I am capable enough, and I am worthy enough to see college and life success this semester. I hope that you found this episode helpful. I want to invite you to my Facebook group because in the Facebook group, I love to pop in there and give a lot of tips and advice and strategies on study skills. And it's a place where, unlike YouTube, we can build a connection and a community in which we are always connected, where we can help each other, where we can get to know each other a little bit better. The community that I've created on Facebook is one where everyone is super supportive, everyone is helping each other out, everyone is cheering each other on. And it is called the Secret Study Society. So if you go on Facebook and you just type in She Rocks at College Secret Study Society, you will see the Facebook group. Go ahead and click to join it. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's coming in the month of January, in this semester, that's going to help you to see success. It's going to help you to not only just come onto this show and listen to me chat and take intellectual action where all you do is consume content but never apply it, but we're going to start moving you into getting some results, getting some momentum, building habits, achieving the things that you want to achieve this semester. So I invite you that if you are enjoying these live streams, if you are enjoying the She Rocks at College live show, please come on over to the Secret Study Society Facebook group, introduce yourself, ask questions. It's there, it's created to support you and for us to really build that intimate connection, that intimate community that I feel like is lacking often in this YouTube space. I don't want you to just be another person who watches my video. I actually want to get to know you. I want you to get to know the other girls in the group. And I want this to be a safe space where you can come, share your worries, share your concerns, share your successes, share your progress, and where we're all working together towards the same goals. So I'm going to take some time to kind of just scroll through the comments here and see what everyone has been saying and interact with you. Hey, so Vanessa's here. Hey, Vanessa. We have Evelyn, Kimberly. Antonella, who says, I want to commit, but I don't know how. You commit by just committing. You just make a decision, pick something and do it. It really is that simple. And what you're doing right now, Antonella, is you're choosing indecision and confusion. You know how to commit. Committing is just a pledge. It's just a promise to yourself that you're going to do something in the future. So what do you want? What do you want to create, Antonella? Who do you need to become to create that? And what do you need to do? And then just do it. Put it on your calendar and show up and do it. That's how you commit. There isn't a magic secret process or sauce. It's as simple as deciding what you want, thinking about who you need to become to achieve that, creating a plan, even if it's not perfect, even if you think to yourself, I don't know if this is what I should be doing, just create something and follow it. Put it on your calendar and follow it. You're going to get information back. You're going to get feedback from taking that action, and then that'll tell you whether or not you should keep doing. That's all it takes to commit. This entire show has been walking you through the process of committing. Don't let your primitive brain take over. Don't let it trick you into thinking that you're confused. You are not confused. You're not. Just start taking some actions and continue to take the action and tweaking it as you go until you get the result you want. It really is that simple. All right, girls, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.